The tough guy of the moment starts in bed, and by the black leather outfit on the bed next to him, you already know the first victim has been taken down. He wakes up all twisted there. Wow, why am I in a hotel? Why am I not in my bed? Looking to the side, he wonders, whoa, what is this wild and wonderful girl doing here? Was my night wild too? Just then, a certain Xiao Jia calls his cell phone, and he quickly remembers that this is the girl who rejected him when he was still a freshman in college. And the girl is there. Hey, why aren't you saying anything? You think you're so hot, huh? Aren't you mad? I'm going to end you. The protagonist is completely confused. What is going on with this crazy girl? She had blocked him on WhatsApp, so why is she talking as if they were still seeing each other? He decides to take a look at his phone and soon sees that the date was in the past, right? The famous reincarnation. This Zhao Zhao talks about Zhang Chong. You're too slow with gifts, and that's why you don't deserve the love I have to offer. Now disappear because you're making this situation weird. The protagonist almost joined the bald group, pulling his hair out in anger. He thought she loved him and that they would be together forever. However, now back in the scene, he is receiving the messages he already expected. As always, she was asking for gifts with the same dramas. Back then, he was blinded by love and didn't even respect himself. But now in this life, he will respect himself. And with that, he already says, Zhao Jia, we broke up. She confused wants to know, Chung, what are you talking about, dude? You think you're going to break up with me? He replies, are you going crazy? I can break up with you whenever I want. Bye. She wants to know why, saying it's good for him to give a reason or she'll get mad. The protagonist just says they aren't compatible. That's it. Bye. However, she is sure he will come back begging for forgiveness later, and it's best not to cry at her feet. Oh, wow. The protagonist reveals that in his past life, she cheated on him twice. Poor guy. He was really a cuckold. Then the true protagonist of the story appears, right? The famous system. The protagonist is looking up with a face like someone abandoned in a supermarket by their dad, wanting to know what this is all about. He gets up to take a look. We see that the tough guy is 18 years old and looks 85 up. Wow, life is already reset. What more did he need? But now he will still earn 10 cents per second, or 8,000 a day. The tough guy gets excited that clearly the system pays by the second. He won't have to do anything. Moreover, he receives a starter kit, and when he decides to open it, a yellow brick falls on the table. It's 10 million initial, a car, and the ability to scan people's friendships. The money part is kind of obvious, but he doesn't understand what this analyzing thing is. Hey artist, did you use all your willpower to attack me with that white glow? Get out of here, old man. And the protagonist already puts this friendship analysis to the test. The tough girl's name is Yu Kong. Wow, what an ugly name. 25 years old, 5 merit tall, and looks 93. Man, we're starting off here with something tall. Besides, her friendship level is at 60, which is kind of normal. However, the protagonist doesn't understand what the privacy value written there means. He decides to click to see what it is, and discovers that it's the number of people that person has interacted with in life. Whoa, this is the dream of the red pills, right? And the protagonist is there confused. If this means the number of people she has been with, and the number, there was 1, he was probably the first. Then we see him calling the fool Zhao Jia at the bar, and obviously she doesn't answer the cuckold. Really nothing is left for the beta, but he found the tough girl there, crying too. They both had drunk quite a bit, and maybe that's why, even with the friendship being low, they managed to score the goal in this. The girl wakes up confused and scared, obviously, right? There's a psychopath staring at her like a dog eyeing chicken at the market, and she asks why he's just standing there like a weirdo. Was he regretting something or smiling? He turns and says that actually he was remembering what happened. She wants to know why he's sighing then, in the middle of the night. Wow. Talking about boldness, he says he's regretting not having met her earlier. And strangely, the system grants him the ability Quick Tongue at maximum level. It increases the strength of all the muscle cells in his tongue and gives it unmatched flexibility and power. Apparently, we discovered the little system that Diddy had, and the boy decides to put his skills to the test right there. He already used the strongest muscle in the body. And apparently, it's a secret because the girl said he's really good at kissing. It's completely different. You guys start working on your tongues. How are you going to train that? Good luck with that. At least the protagonist has already had his breakfast. And sometime later, he wakes up in bed with money beside him. What's going on? He's as confused as I am, right? Wondering if he was treated like The girl even left 10,000 yuan and said the night was worth every penny. The protagonist is thinking that this crazy girl had her first time with him and even paid. She really wasn't all there. Too bad he couldn't get her number. Then he sees that the critical card he won earlier has a chance to multiply what he spends between 1 to 50 times as long as it's less than 100,000 Chinese coins, which isn't much at all. The protagonist, however, is excited since he was sent back to the past with this system. He wants to become a magnate in this world. The good part is that since he's in the past, he knows about certain companies that will become prominent. And the first thing he has to do is gather enough money to buy shares in those startups. Have you seen that bear that stands still in front of the water, waiting for fish to pass by? That's the human equivalent. It's the hot girl next to the fancy car, waiting for her owner to arrive. The protagonist is there, thinking about real estate, making money, and whatnot. When suddenly, the huntress sends a kiss, asking if this is the handsome guy's car. The protagonist looks and says, "Man, the crazy one has arrived." He says, "Yes." "What's up?" The girl is straightforward and already asks if he can take her to a certain place that she urgently needs to get home. That's because in the app it says that her kitchen pipes are all clogged. This one is really direct. The protagonist activates the friendship scanner. He sees that her name is Chen Liaki, but the girl's privacy is 28. Wow. Even though the friendship is 90, this girl is, let's say, accessible. Even the protagonist is shocked and confused by this 90% friendship. It was a bit excessive for them to have just met. He ignores it and gets into the car, somewhat confused. And wow, then he really lets her have it. He says that 28 brothers have already unclogged her kitchen pipes so she can call the next one next time. What the heck? He even left her in a cloud of smoke. The fool is there wanting to know how the hell he knows she has 28 exes. She's all sad, saying that it's not every day you meet someone handsome with money. When an old man nearby hears what she's saying, he comes over. "Oh, young lady, I heard you say you're having problems with your pipes. Let me introduce myself. I have 30 years of professional experience." However, she already tells the pervert to get away from her. The old man is confused. Wow. "Oh, young lady, that cute little boy wouldn't be able to fix your pipes? I can handle that." Cheeky tells the jerk to get away. That he's bothering her. While the guys around laugh, the old man doesn't understand why. And one guy says, "Hey, old man, you're not getting it?" It's not the pipes that are the problem. No, she's wanting them to unclog other things. He takes a look, thinking, wow, the youth these days really moves fast. Meanwhile, she kicked like an idiot, and now her shoe is broken. In the meantime, our protagonist has already been to the real estate agency. He parked his fancy car, but the guy there was thinking, here come those kids who take their dad's car to just hang around, bothering everyone here. The protagonist gets out of the car like a Max Steel action figure in that pose. And the girl at the reception sees that the guy is staring, meaning she will have to deal with this alone. She was a bit insecure, but introduces herself as Miss Zia and asks how she can help him. The protagonist asks for a bucket of fries. Obviously, right? The jerk is here to look at houses. So, right. Oh my god, what else would he be doing at a real estate agency? She's being all cute, showing him everything while the guy who ignored her just apologizes to the poor girl. This business world was cruel, and first she had to learn to filter the clients. In this, she is showing one of the houses that was one of the best and most compact. The price was quite reasonable, and it was one of the popular models. What do you think, sir? However, Jung tells her to ignore that one, as he's interested in those that are close to $1 million. She starts looking around, saying she understands, but wants to know if he has any preferences. He says he wants those that are easy to rent. He doesn't want anything that hasn't been finished, and a good renovation of a house could also work. The protagonist has already noticed from her hesitation that she seemed a bit new to this place. Although the communication was basic, the good part is that she doesn't have any sales tactics yet, so everything feels quite sincere. Shia is 19 years old, 173 tall, and looks 90. Wow, everyone has 90 and 92 in body, right? This one is a bit above. Besides, now the privacy, which changed to a partner from the past, is 0. She's then showing some little houses to the boys, all between 800,000 to $1 million. The problem for Zhang is that he knows the critical hit system doesn't activate above $1 million, meaning it had to be just below that. She asks if he wants other options while he's trying to figure out how he can get several that are as close to $1 million as possible to ensure the critical hit. In this, he asks if they can negotiate those properties that are close to $1 million. If she could reduce the price of each of them to $1 million, he would pay for all 5 right now, live and in color. She's a bit surprised that he will pay everything at once. And he says yes, he pays now and will have her manage the rent for the 5. The sly girl already knows that the commission plus what she would earn monthly from taking care of 5 houses would be worth a lot. So she says she will do it now. Meanwhile, the fool who decided to ignore him is there at the door hiding, wanting to know why this weird kid has so much money. An hour later, the manager appears, saying that the contract for the 5 is done and the girl will take 2% of the commission. The protagonist says, perfect. He trusts Sia to manage everything and will call in the future for new purchases. The sly girl is all smitten because even with 2%, she would receive an absurd amount of money. In this, the critical hit activates, and obviously he gets a bunch of 50x, 40x. If he had bought the ones for 800,000, the total difference in multiplication would be huge. Besides that, he levels up for having spent some money and now earns euro, 8 yen every second. The protagonist decides that if the system is going to reward like this, he will have to spend a bit more. Right away, he calls Zia saying he wants to have a talk with her, but he's saying this while she's imagining him, saying that this won't be the last time. The girl is biting her fingers. What capitalism doesn't do to the good worker, right? Oh, poor thing. There she is, suffering from mental illusions just for earning a little money. However, even so, she's hesitating. She's in stoic, this girl. She tells our protagonist that maybe tonight, no, they should get to know each other better. He, however, confused, wants to know what she's talking about. He's just asking for her bank account. She wants to know why, and he replies that she's the lucky star, and he wants the chance to meet her again other times. All this because he received 50x there, right? But obviously the poor thing is thinking everything differently. A few minutes later, he sent her another 35,000 Chinese coins and sent a K-pop dance with his hand on his head. I don't know what kind of mess this is. The wretched girl brought him more than 200 million, so that's totally reasonable. The friendship has now gone up to 85, and the fierce one is showing the QR code. The head has changed right now. She's up for a little dinner tonight, and the protagonist notices a pic sent from 50 to 80. Clearly, the world belongs to the rich. He exchanges WhatsApp, and the sly one is already in a frenzy, now imagining herself in the slaughterhouse and thinking that maybe if it's today, it won't be that quick. Meanwhile, the protagonist, on the other hand, is already saying goodbye, saying they'll see each other again. However, she looks a bit confused, right? She thought he would invite her for something, but he's just in the car saying, Hustego. Wow. The protagonist is at home. He has a father and mother. Oh, what a rarity in these stories. Usually those have been dead for 15 years. The mother cut the watermelons for the fool. And the father wants to know why he didn't go on the school graduation trip. He says he wants to visit Shanghai because he's thinking of entering the university there. Wow. The father is generous. He just says it's fine then. He'll transfer the money for the trip. While the mother tells him not to spoil the boy like that, or he'll turn into a mama's boy and no girl will want him. The protagonist is thinking that really this might have affected him in his past life, that he was a fool, right? He was the beta. However, this time he guarantees he'll get a good daughter-in-law. The next day, we're on the plane and the protagonist is sad that he bought economy class because all the seats were already taken. He's about to enter his seat when suddenly he accidentally bumps into someone. However, as always in these stories, there's a pretty girl everywhere. It's obvious she's yet another victim. The name of this girl is Jo Ying, and our protagonist explains that this is his seat. She says it's a coincidence that she's nearby. And you turn and wow, my daughter is in a diaper. What is that? The two are chatting when the famous beta appears, calling for the lovely maiden and saying it's an honor to travel alongside her. It's going to be an amazing trip. The protagonist had taken the window seat, but tells Joy to stay there. However, the beta won't let this pass. He says, little brother, that seat is for the lady. You can't change seats like that on a plane. The protagonist, however, says they're together and doesn't have to give him any information. Meanwhile, he sits down, but the VTuber fan doesn't stop, right? He says, hey miss, are you going to Shanghai? No, come on. In midair, she's going to jump out of the plane, open the parachute, and land somewhere else. She's not going to Shanghai, you jerk. She completely ignores the poor beta and wants to know what Zhang Chang is going to do in Shanghai. She's going for work. He says it's nothing special, just a simple trip. She says it's great to take a vacation. The poor guy is just sitting there in the corner, saying he also spent a year in Shanghai and knows there are many scammers there. It would be good for him to be careful not to fall into hotel traps. Besides, he says he's staying in a very nice hotel that the pre-prepared everything, and if she wants, he can let her go there. However, clearly, Jo Ying is just looking out the window, completely ignoring him. In this, Jung Chung says, friend, you can relax, okay? I already hired a taxi over there. She's with me, so you don't need to worry. But Jung Chun doesn't stop there, right? He now sees an opportunity to humiliate our boy and wants to know what hotel he's staying at. The protagonist says it's at a place called Aman Yong Yun. Right away, the kid is scared. It seems like it's a resort that's extremely expensive to book. Immediately, the guy says it's weird. If he's in such a nice hotel, why did he come on this plane in economy class? He stayed at that place too, and usually they don't pick you up at the airport. The protagonist says he got a villa there, and the guy seems a bit surprised. Jo Ying knows that costs around $80,000 a night. She didn't expect him to be that rich. He replies that he knows very well that she is actually much richer. That's because at school she was not only famous, but also one of the prettiest. And yes, everyone knew that every time she was picked up, it was in luxurious cars. Besides, she was the type that most guys didn't have the courage to look in the eye. However, she was always quiet studying. But back then, the protagonist only cared about Xiaojia, right? To get cheated on. He really is a fool. And it seems her family is having some problems because she said she's no longer that second-generation rich girl. The protagonist notices the mood has turned a bit sour, decides to change the subject, and they start talking about school days. As soon as she gets distracted, he notices the atmosphere is more relaxed, and he decides to check what matters, the girl's stats. 18 years old, 172, 96 in appearance, 96 in body. Wow, these girls are already maxing out the scale. I want to know what 100 out of 100 means for the artist. And what impresses the protagonist is that she already has 75 in friendship. Maybe she was watching him at school and he didn't know. That's a bit strange. The boys arrive at the airport when suddenly, wow girl, you came to receive him in that outfit. I think you're wearing the wrong profession's attire. But okay, right. She's there to receive him today. She will be his private driver. Huh. The protagonist says that the Yun Hotel is very professional. I see their professionalism. So our boy wants to know where Jo Ying will stay, and she says she's at a friend's house, which is in the opposite direction, so she'll just take a taxi. However, he says no way. Tells her to get in the taxi, and they will take her there. Meanwhile, Young Chong is hiding there, angry, saying that this beauty shouldn't suffer at the hands of a scoundrel like that. A while later, they arrive where Jo Ying will stay, and she asks for our boy's contact. He tells her not to forget the promise, and then scans the code. Apparently, Jiang Chong was on the lookout to find the moment to humiliate the boy. But now that he left her there, right, there's not much more he can do. Half an hour later, our protagonist is at his house, thinking that it really was the perfect choice. He decides he will take a shower when suddenly the fierce one arrives to help. Confused, he asks if the service is complete. She turns around, telling him to wake up to life. She's just there to wash his back. He still finds that a bit strange, right? He's going to say it wasn't really necessary, but she, with her little glove, keeps telling him to come closer, that this is part of the treatment. The rascal has already sat down there, right? Thinking it was really comfortable? Not to mention that her appearance was very good. If there were special services, he would never complain. Imagination runs wild, right? He's already imagining her offering those so-called additional services. She asks why he looks like he's burning. Was the water temperature too high? Well, he just wants to understand how he keeps calm in this situation. He tells her to share a bit about her routine to help him relax, and she says that tonight there will be a reception for a VIP event and wants to know if he wants to participate. He asks what the reason is, and she says that some platinum members are auctioning off some jewelry. He wants to know if there's any special clothing, and she says, no, just go there. Nothing too fancy. At that moment, we see her arriving with our boy and saying that he's in Titanium Village, so they should respect the kid. She says goodbye to our boy, telling him to enjoy himself, and leaves. Wow, they really didn't take down the victim. We didn't even learn the name. No friendship. What's that? Tell us? Walking down the NPC corridor, he sees a bunch of people there talking about 5 million, 4 million. The auction is on gold Rolex. Everyone excited, shouting, making bids. And the protagonist who comes from the future knows that the price is going to rise a lot. So he steps in and places a bid of 5 million. However, the crowd isn't going to let it go easily. Someone else raises it to 16, 17, 18. People are impressed that the 35 kid, our boy, really came to bed aggressively. The old man bangs the gavel 3 times at $18 million. And with that, it's sold. At that moment, some peculiar guys show up, right? Introducing themselves as Wang Zhang and Qin Fen. The protagonist finds it a bit suspicious, right? What do these rich kids from Shanghai want with him? The blonde kid, who is Qin Fen, says he was bidder number 8 and wanted that watch, but apparently the kid liked it a lot. Was he an expert in luxury watches? Chiang says he's not an expert and doesn't study. In fact, this is the first time he bought one because he wanted to try something new. The guy says it's crazy. What kind of person buys a watch for $18 million for the first time? A person like that he should have seen around. Our boy says it's because he just arrived in Shanghai to go to university. The guy keeps complimenting him, saying that when he was 18, he wouldn't have had that kind of boldness. And then he tells our boy that they should hang out when they have more time in the future. Huh, this peculiar guy, huh? I don't know. He's being really nice. You know, the world belongs to the clever. So, if you're not clever, you're the fool. In this little chat with the watch expenses, he leveled up the system again and now earns 1 yuan per second. He knows that for many people, that would be life-changing money. However, for him, who wants to become a magnet, it wasn't that much. As he was climbing the stairs, he notices her, Kang, whom he calls Xia Sha. Let's call her Xia Sha. That's better anyway. And the fierce one is all dressed up and recognizes him, saying he's the boy from that night. He says that indeed she was one of the best companions he ever had. The night was wonderful, and he even got paid. She, however, grabs him, saying she's angry. She thought she was helping a poor 18-year-old student, but apparently he has money. However, the fierce one is now attacking, throwing her arm around his back and saying he really is a student. He needs new lessons and rented a villa in this area. Why don't they go there later? What's this? The girl has a little motor control problem with her tongue, and she says she drank a lot and he's going to have to work hard. Whoa! But at that moment, someone tells Xia Sha to stay still. It's a guy named Jiang Yu, who is her ex-fiancé. He's saying she's not going to do anything, but she just replies that what she does is none of his business. He grabs her arm, and it's beta warning that no matter what happens, they're going to get married. Whoa, but he's not that beta, because she said there's no way she's marrying someone who is playing around with her friend. However, he points in her face and warns that the engagement party has already happened, and the families agreed. No matter what happens, she will be forced to the altar. Whoa! But she says he's disgusting, and just wants to use her as a cover while he goes out to have fun with men and women. The guy decided to make use of 100% of the available population. At that point, the system gives 2 options to our boy. He can leave and receive a Ninja Turtle costume, or he can slap this guy twice, gain 3 times the physical enhancement, and a bad luck card. Young Chen says he won't be a coward in this life. When the system says that this enhancement could improve things like speed, strength, and recovery ability, he immediately gives the first slap to the guy. He even farms some aura, saying that the dude lost all rights when he betrayed her, so it's best he gets out of there and gives him another slap. What's up, protagonist? Are you going to stomp on the guy's skull? Let's take it easy. You'll get arrested, man. In this, he also gains 10% more friendship with the fierce girl. Meanwhile, the rest of the hotel staff arrives to take the boy who's all beaten up. He's calling the police because he was assaulted, but the hotel doesn't want to call any police. There are too many wealthy people here. That would just disturb everyone. It's best for this damn kid to keep quiet. Xiao Xiao tells our boy not to worry, that if he calls the police, she'll say that this bastard was bothering her and provoked it, and that's why he did this. The fool, however, is there in the middle. I'm going to call the police. They'll check the cameras and everyone here will pay. What's this? But in the background, there's a guy holding a machete saying that his damn wife is messing with someone. Oh man, it's best to let him in because he's going to wipe out everyone. Now Jiang Yu is on the ground begging to be spared. And wow, there's already one who took the first lick on the neck. In this, the protagonist receives 2 options. Option 1 was to run away with Xia Xiao and gain 300 in cash. Nothing special. Option 2 was to stop the criminal, gain 5 in appearance, and also the ability to be a HM breast masseur. Apparently, it's really the gigolo system, where he only gains skills related to making girls happier. The only reason the protagonist doesn't want to stop the crime is that he'll be saving that Jiang Yu. However, more importantly, it's the skill he's going to need. Immediately, he activates the enhancement card he got from slapping the kid. Since he needed to stop a thief, he decides to put everything into strength and instantly feels his muscles strangely strong. As the guy approaches, he anticipates and serves him one right in the mouth, sending the guy crashing into the wall. Both Xia Sha and poor Beta are there impressed, wanting to know how he did that. Everyone at the party wants to know who the badass is that took down this guy in one hit. The police officer even thanks our boy, saying he's truly a hero. If it weren't for him getting involved, the situation could have been much worse. However, it's obvious that Jiang Yu wants to suffer more in this life, right? He comes to report to the police that this guy hit him. He has violent tendencies and shouldn't be deceived. However, the officer turns to the people asking if this is true. And right then, the fierce girl comes to ruin the cuckold's life for good. She says that this isn't true, that this guy wanted to deceive her, force a marriage, family problems. The officer is there like, wow, I get it. I get it. Meanwhile, the protagonist realizes she really explained the whole story and thanks her, saying he would never let Jiang Yu do anything against her again. Then, the officer warns that they aren't there to discuss emotional situations. The crisis was resolved. They're leaving. Jiang Yu wants to insist while the protagonist realizes this bastard really doesn't give up and has no remorse. He wants to check the cameras. Then, he sees that thing about the bad luck card. Oh man, he's throwing bad luck at people. At that moment, his phone rings and they inform him that it seems someone managed to withdraw $200,000 from his bank account. He immediately gets a shock and says it wasn't him. Wherever it went, that money was supposed to be recovered. In this, a woman comes running in screaming desperately, saying that someone went to maneuver his car and crashed into a tree. What is this? The unlucky card is really violent. The boy rushes out in a panic to see what's happening. Xiao Xiao finds it an incredible coincidence. While the protagonist tells her that cruel people always suffer in this life, I would say that honest people suffer too. The world is unfair, my friend. Unfortunately, just because you're going into that room with that moon-shaped butt, you think everyone has this good life. Damn it. And here she comes, right? She says that her big sister will have to check to see if he got hurt in this fight. And then she asks if he minds, that she has a fiancé like that. The protagonist says no. He's just surprised that the guy is really acting like this. He explains that her grandfather was extremely ill, and to find peace, she had no choice but to marry this guy because his family had money. However, it was when she found out that this guy liked men too, and got involved with her friend. The protagonist tells her not to worry, that she doesn't need to suffer anymore. She finds it amazing that he really doesn't care about this relationship. Why do you think he doesn't care? Huh? What does he want from you, my daughter? Then he pulls her close and leans on the chin rest, telling her not to worry, that he would take care of her. The next day, the poor maids had to tidy up the whole room. And shortly after, our boy was at the restaurant. One of his friends posted in the school group that he's having a birthday and got a big watch. Our boy finds this interesting and suddenly asks to borrow Xiao Xiao's legs for his birthday. She's a bit confused, wanting to know if it's a birthday. He says, "It's not quite that, but just give me those legs, woman." She says, "It's fine." Then starts posing this way, posing that way, posing over there. My God, why did she step on the toast? I think the artist got a bit carried away, my friend. Keep your personal preferences out of the story, please. The protagonist took pictures of everything, thinking that it's okay. At 18, he didn't get a car, but the speed of this machine was incomparable. He sends it in the friends group, and they're all in shock. Whoa! There are some guys there who got a house, another who got a car, one who got an RTX 590, and they all preferred a woman. Not for nothing, but a 50-90 man is powerful. Shortly after, he arrives at the car dealership. Go on, damn it! Show everything. She's already there. Look here. There's that one. There's that one over there. However, as always, there's a bald, short old guy with a hot girl next to him, wanting to show he has money. Even the girl is hesitant, saying that buying a car like this would be too serious. However, he says, "Girl, I'll pick you up every day when you start your recordings, and you need to be comfortable." The short dress, however, says that's not necessary. She just wants to be the lead of the protagonist in the story and promises she will work diligently. This whole discussion is going on while the protagonist is arriving listening to everything. He recognizes her as a fierce one named Su-Wan, who in a few years will become one of the goddesses of entertainment. Apparently, it's a peculiar entertainment, right? Because she became famous for a set of photos by the pool. The little bird's nest is there saying she can choose whichever car she wants, and then they'll go out for drinks. However, the girl seems to want to escape from the old man, saying she had a meeting with the company and has to leave. However, the guy with the Vegeta entrance warns her that it's best she comes with him. Otherwise, the investment in her won't be made, and she should know that if she doesn't accept, she will still be crossed off the industry list. Wow. However, the girl is tough. She says that no matter what Mr. Hang says, she won't give in and he can do whatever he wants. Wow, that's rare, huh? She stood up to the bald uncle. The protagonist even activated a little mission there. He obviously had to get her out of the situation and make her sign a contract. With that, he would receive special things. The protagonist knows that the easiest way was for her to realize that he was financially capable, in that he asks to take a look at the conditions to buy a Latterari. It must be that La Ferrari can only be right. The woman says it's a limited model. She would have to go through several tests before becoming a VIP just to be able to buy this. He asks if she isn't qualified. She says that if he really wants, it's not impossible. He asks what the condition is, and she says that the waiting list is quite long. Most people don't want to leave their money there, so sometimes there are a few spots that he can kind of take over. He says that's fine. He's there to buy outright. The girl is wide-eyed. The old man is shocked while the so-called Suan is already interested. Even that boss Hang, who likes to play the rich guy, wouldn't have such audacity. The woman tries to explain that he must not be understanding the values. It's 50 million yuans, about $7 million. However, he just says that this was an acceptable amount. Suddenly, that Chinfen appears again, saying he heard someone was about to buy a laterary and came to see who it was. He didn't imagine it was our guy. The protagonist is the aura creator of the money world, right? He's the Sun Jin Wound of credit cards. He casually says, "Yeah, I arrived in Shanghai yesterday. I'm without a car, so I came to buy one here casually." Chinfen is a bit confused. "Dude, casually it's not. Clearly, you are showing off in that." The guy in the tie asks Chin if he's his friend for him to say he met Zhang Cheng yesterday. He was buying an 18 million watch. Really? He can trust that he had money. The old man sees he has a big watch on his arm, is sure that at least he has cash. He already thanks the boy for choosing them and says that with a watch like that on his arm, money must not be a problem. Meanwhile, the old man is looking sideways and the so-called Suan is already fidgeting. She had never seen a second-generation rich person spend so much money so casually. Chinfen is sure for the kid to be spending so much, he must have passed hundreds of millions, or even more. In that, the bald guy says, "Hey, stop staring at the kid over there. Go sign that contract already. I'll buy the car for you. You'll be happy." However, she keeps refusing, saying she has a certain meeting to attend. But then, the old man storms out in anger, saying he's tired of chatting with her. She better prepare to be on the blacklist of all companies. Before she could react, someone calls for her. Out of nowhere, it's the protagonist, right? Saying he heard the conversation about that investment she missed. She doesn't have to worry. If the old man didn't invest, he will. Poor thing is a bit confused, right? She doesn't even know who the guy is. I would be scared. At least she is sure that financially this guy can stand up to President Huang. On the other hand, she is not at all willing to sleep with anyone. The poor girl says that, but she's all excited, bouncing around asking for our boy's WeChat chat, saying they'll talk tomorrow. He says that's fine. And with that, they exchange contacts. In that, the protagonist wants to know when he will get the car, and the old man says it will take at least a year. That was the minimum. The fool Zhang Cheng makes it clear that he's a poor guy who just made money. Had no idea that this damn car would take so long. Now it's all crooked over there, realizing that he's going to be left stranded. But in this Chinfen, whom I still find suspicious, says there's going to be a show of imported foreign brands, and they can go check it out together. The scene, however, shifts to the Rennie restaurant later that night. Xiao came all dressed up, looking like a Christmas present. "Girl, why are you wearing so many random pieces of clothing? You look like an RPG doll." He takes her to the table, and in theory, it's the most expensive food available. However, the tough guy says that the only thing he wants to eat is wrapped up there. She asks for a break and suddenly gives him a kiss on the cheek. But in that moment, Jiang Chen shows his boldness. He sits down and immediately talks about another woman, wanting to know if she knows this Swan. He tells Xia Sha that she's an artist who works at the same company as her. But by chance, did he like her? The protagonist says that's not the case. He just sees potential in the girl. What does she think of her? Xia Xiao, finally looking cuter from a more conservative angle, says that the company doesn't pay much attention, but she has a good chance to develop. Oh, wow. And she even tells our boy that she doesn't need to hide it. If he likes her, she can even help. She doesn't mind. He, however, gently tells her to stop being foolish. Besides, he wants to treat her well. Xia Xiao wants to know if he's looking to invest in this woman. He says yes. He wants to put some funds into her project. Xiao Xiao says that not only will he have to pay the penalty, but he will also have to create his own company. And as a good protagonist, he's already wanting to put Xia Sha to work and let her handle everything. He knows that since he has enough money to support the company with the system, he just needs to put someone talented in charge, and it will be fine. However, Xiao says she doesn't want to be a shareholder. No, she just wants a normal salary, and that's enough. She will only manage the operations. And then, however, she says that no way is she going to take care of everything and not get shares. She's going to work hard and make money. Poor thing, though, is just like a fool. All emotional, thinking he's being an angel. While she's there in her emotions, her phone is ringing. It must be that Wan calling the boy to action. And now it's the next day. The fierce one getting into the car. She took that thing out of her butt, and our boy is already asking where they're going to the Lujiaoui Hotel, and we're arriving at the restaurant. He asks what kind of story they were going to make, if it was something big. She says it was an amazing drama. The total investment was 5 million. The protagonist, however, doesn't seem very interested. 5 million wouldn't be enough to make something incredible these days. She explains that it's a small production and costs have to be reduced. Moreover, the most important thing was the story. She asks if he wants to take a look at the script, but he says no. He's just there to discuss investments. She finds it strange that he doesn't even want to see the script of the story, but he just says he's interested in investing now. However, he has one condition. She would have to sign an exclusivity contract with his company. She says that doesn't make sense. She was still a mediocre artist, and he would have to pay the penalty. The protagonist says that's not a problem. But Swan is already thinking right that what he wants is something else. She's not an innocent and foolish girl in this world, and knows very well that he wants to kill two birds with one stone. He got an actress and a nighttime companion. However, she shakes her head saying no way. She has stayed faithful all these years, and she's not going to lose that now. In that, she wants to know what entertainment company he has. He says he hasn't made it yet, but soon it will be ready. Moreover, he talked to Shia Shah, who revealed that she wasn't very valued where she was working. Now the sly one is all smiles, wanting to know what the special requirements are. Friendship is at 50. The protagonist knows that 50 basically is the same as being strangers. If he asks for what she has best, she might even agree, but it won't be because she wants to, which for him wasn't fun. So, in that he says that if she's an artist in his company, he won't ask her to make any inappropriate contact. Suddenly, the girl is already overly excited. With the friendship rising, she wants to know if she can call him boss. He says that boss is too much and tells her to call him big brother. The conversation goes on, and he finishes the mission of hiring her, and with that receives 20% of the shares of an investment company called Hench. The system says he did all this legally, and if he wants, he can even check the files. The crazy guy still thinks that now, at least he has a way to explain to his father how he got so rich. I think showing a document of what you bought doesn't explain much, but that's fine. However, he calls his father, tells the little story, right, that he invested in this company, it grew, and now he will get a monthly income of over 600,000 tang. The mother is there in the hula hoop, telling the old man to get ready, that the son is about to surpass him. Meanwhile, the protagonist already wants to know if they want a little gift, which he will take for both. However, now it's trendy in stories for families to be nice, and they don't ask for anything. In this, the protagonist asks Swan out. Then, she says she'll go wherever the sugar daddy wants. He says he's just going to check out some pieces. And with that, they're in a watch store. The motto is, no one buys a luxury watch. You just keep it safe for the next generation. Wow, the rich guy. Such a fool. Our boy is arriving there. As always, there's going to be an old man with another hot girl by his side who will pass the desire, right? It seems someone recognized Miss Swan, who says she's accompanying a friend who came to check out the watches. However, the friend with a green headband thinks she's a fool. There are countless handsome guys in the entertainment industry. She shouldn't waste time with a guy like that, but rather meet a rich guy. Oh my girl, your stockings are torn, my daughter. Clearly, your financial situation isn't great. The crazy one. The girl has 78 friends from the past. What's up, warrior? Working overtime. Besides only 20% of friendship with our boy. In this, the old man is asking Rue who this junior is, and she says it's just a random girl participating in a small, unknown drama. The guy, however, introduces himself as Wang Hai and says he's an investor in the film industry, right? And if she's interested, she just needs to take his card. Swan, however, knows that the girl in the background is an actress far below her. However, she does well in the industry because she uses other parts of her body to do this acting work. She just thanks for the card to avoid the conversation and leaves. Meanwhile, the shopkeeper wants to know what kind of watch our boy is looking for. Ah, the protagonist is in the store to buy a watch for his mother. And the guy offered one for 380,000, which he thought was cheap, which is at least $500,000. That Rue is just listening from the side, wanting to know what kind of person says that one for 380,000 is cheap. Meanwhile, Swan is on the side, just laughing at the suffering of the fool who tried to humiliate her. The protagonist asks if Swan wants a watch, but she says no. She doesn't have money to buy. Huh, obviously not. She said the perfect phrase for the system to give him the mission to buy a watch for her. In this, he already says that if she wants, he'll buy one as a gift. She says no way. She prefers to earn the money and buy it herself, while the friend is looking from outside, thinking that this girl is an idiot. Besides, this guy is trying to show off in front of everyone. He'll probably look at several watches and leave without buying anything. In this, the shopkeeper is there, putting the watches on our boy's wrist, who she says looks really handsome. She adjusts it on his wrist and he says, it's perfect. He likes it nice and tight. Then this guy here is a real weirdo. Hey, you strange one. Stop with those jokes back and forth. The protagonist, however, noticed that the friendship has grown. This one also doesn't seem quite right in the head, huh? He tells the shopkeeper to prepare both. The guy is there a bit in shock, right? The girl who has already defeated 6 football teams is scared there. Apparently, the bastard really wasn't just trying to show off and had money. Meanwhile, the protagonist is also asking Swan to take a look at the women's watches there. She was supposed to choose 2. The guy shows one there, all covered in diamonds, all flashy for $150,000. The girl puts it on her wrist, already looking all dazzled. She tries to be humble and asks for one that costs $380,000. Even so, the protagonist already tells him to charge another one on the card. He wants those 2 too. She's there all giddy, touching her wrist and thanking him, but saying she shouldn't be walking around with something so expensive. He tells her not to worry, that she will still earn a lot of money for him. However, even so, she doesn't want to accept and says it's better if he gives both to his mother, but he says that the one on her wrist only suits a young woman. They would laugh at his mother if she went out with something like that. He asks if she is really going to refuse, and she's there, right? Not knowing much what to say, but says it's okay. Really, he was a generous boss. Meanwhile, the guy already brings the card there, saying that the payment has been approved and that Rue was dying of anger. How could a filthy girl like Swan have a watch better than hers on her wrist? Obviously, the old man is hesitant there, right? He asks for the model he knows doesn't exist and is already leaving. He said, "It's a shame it's not available. They'll come back later." The seller asks if Miss Linrue wants to leave a reservation, wants to take a look at another, but obviously, she also doesn't have money. She just says they'll talk later. Meanwhile, the protagonist completes the mission, receiving a cashback of 3 times. Wow, the boy is really going to spend. We went to the bag store, and it's the same thing, right? Got there, took a look, said, "I'll take it." Right away, the girl at the counter is all impressed. Says that now they are VIP customers. The sly one is all trembling. But at night, we're arriving at Swan's house, who obviously makes the offer, right? Asking if he wants a glass of water. However, he plays the game and says it's dangerous to go up there and something might happen. Wow. And she really just left. Thinking while he went away. It was the villain's tactic, right? He said he wouldn't. And then she was disappointed, wanting to know if he really wasn't interested. What's this, my girl? What position are you imagining, my god? The artist? Come on, let's calm down there, my dude. This isn't a gym floor. Do you think you're at the Olympics? Arriving home, the maid is there waiting for our boy, right? Who, as always, is there swimming while she's holding the towel like a fool. She's impressed because in all the years she's worked there, it's very rare for someone to take those VIP rooms for more than 2 days. However, he seems like he's going to stay there a week. For sure, she had to offer impeccable service. Meanwhile, the protagonist wants to know what's unique and special to eat in that place. She says the hotel has Chinese, Italian, French, Japanese food. All the best. There was even a special golden fish with truffles from who knows where. He thanks her, apparently wants that, but also asks for a massage, right? And here it comes. I'm already scared. This boy is always with those little underwear of his, with some birds all crooked. And the poor guy now thought the massage would be easy, but he's being affected by gravity. Besides that, it seems there were even aromatherapy things, and he's impressed while the friend talks, just for him to sit and relax. Apparently, the protagonist is confused, wanting to know if this is part of the package, or if something more is happening. Oh, wow. I think I don't know how complete the service was, right? But she says she will wait for him tomorrow, because she's taking him to the car meet. I really think it was something normal, because he's there thinking he let his imagination run too far. The next day, we're at some car event, and for the love of God, our protagonist is wearing the most horrible style I've ever seen someone wear. What a terrible tie is that? And it seems that this Chin Fen guy, the clueless blonde with the protagonist, didn't show up at the last minute. However, it's not like he needed that guy to spend money, so he's going to check everything out. The only problem is that the cars were kind of below his expectations. The most expensive one so far was 2.22 million. But then he sees a crowd gathered around a car and decides to take a look. However, when he gets there, what's actually catching attention is Jo Ying, that girl from the plane. Wait, wasn't she the innocent girl in class, focused on her studies? What is she doing there, girl? And there's obviously a simp there, right? Wanting to know when her shift ends, saying they're going to take her on a date. But the friend next to him tells him not to call her because she thinks she's too good for everyone there. Jo Ying is kind of unsure how to respond while the protagonist shows up. It's his friends from school, and he wants to know what school meeting this is that no one invited him to. One of the guys says he didn't think he would come, and the protagonist asks if he wasn't supposed to show up. Really, one of them is thinking that they intentionally used another group so he wouldn't know, So, what is he doing there? The guys are off to the side whispering about him, while the girls want to know what happened. It hasn't been long since they last saw each other, but he already looks even more handsome. Did he come to Shanghai for some surgery? The poor guy mentions the green hair and says the kid looks better, but still doesn't match up to him. Jinang laughs and just asks, "Right, what is everyone doing there? Did they come to buy a car?" The girl in the clown dress says, "No way." As if they have money for that. They just ran into some friends at the door and came to take some pictures. This is because they found out that Zhou Ying, who was a classmate, was there, so everyone got interested. Then the protagonist sees something impressive. His friend who just graduated already had 30 friends from the past. Moreover, her friendship count was at 90, meaning it would be easy. The friend with purple hair only had 2 friends in the past, and her friendship count was at 75. Wow, but she looks 85? Good heavens. The metrics here are really messed up. I'd say she's like a 60. Or maybe she's hiding something special. Who knows? The protagonist, however, wants to know why these girls' friendship counts were so high. They didn't even like him, nor did they talk to him in class. The orange-haired girl wants to know what he's tripping on, what he's doing there. While our protagonist, however, ignores everything and says hi to Zhou Ying, telling her she looks more beautiful than that day. She's all leaning in, wanting to know if he came to check out the cars, too. He says yes, he's looking to buy one. The friend next to him already tells him to wake up to reality. Him, who used to ride an electric scooter to school, talking about buying something like that. The guy starts mentioning the prices of various cars, and the protagonist congratulates him, right? Saying that the class president really knows about supercars. It's just a shame he doesn't buy one. Wow. Oh, protagonist. That was ungrateful, right? He dissed the guy there, just like that. Even Zhou Ying asks them to stay away from there. Damn, she's disrupting the girl's work. They're making a crowd discuss. Oh man. Out of nowhere, he puts his hand on his face and says he came here to look for a car because his family said it's a gift for him getting a good grade on the university exam. She, a bit weird, tells him to ask other women because she doesn't understand anything about cars. However, the boy is unstoppable, right? He says he feels better learning everything with her. Jiang tries to help the girl, saying, "Come on, buddy. She already said she doesn't understand, right, man? Or are you just here to chat with the goddess?" The guy tells Jiang to stop meddling. He's just there being a nuisance, too. But then the protagonist asks if in case he buys the car, the model comes along. Joying is laughing, telling him to stop telling jokes, and the friend says the same thing, right? As if he had money to do that. Suddenly, her manager arrives and warns that she doesn't earn $2,000 a day to just chat with a friend. Poor thing. She got scolded? The protagonist still says, "Wow, Zudong, you were talking to the girl and made her suffer at work. How irresponsible." Then the protagonist tells the dealer that the car isn't very good, but the model made it look nice, and he wants to know if she comes along. Right away, the boss checks his watch and tells the boy that the vehicle definitely comes with paint to protect the film. I don't know what the double entendre was here, but our boy says to just charge it to the card. Then the school friends want to know if he's lost his mind and is going to embarrass himself, as if he had 8 million to spend like that. And the body collector there obviously is already all excited and trembling that Li Shuang tells Zhang Changying to stop being so full of himself. He would end up embarrassing himself here and make Zhou Ying lose her job. The protagonist, however, says he's buying the car exactly because of her. She's the one who will benefit. And the boss agrees. If the boy really buys, the commission goes to Zhou Ying. Whoa, her friendship level is already at 82, right? Things are escalating quickly, and Zhuang wants to know if the kid is really going to try the legendary trick of, "Oops, my card is frozen. I'll call someone here and disappear." The protagonist, however, just tells the boss to charge it to the card quickly because he's in a hurry. With that, the transaction is complete, and the guy is already praising the boy, saying he'll prepare the paperwork now, and asks Zhou Ying to take care of the boy. Sudong is confused. How did this guy suddenly drop 8 million like that? The green-haired guy is in disbelief. Apparently, the kid was keeping a low profile at school, and the other girl is already at 95 friendship. Soon she'll have to go to the bathroom to change clothes. She's offering to get in the car, but the purple-haired guy says it's a 2-seater, right? There's no room for her. However, the 95 girl says that Zhou Ying has to get back to work and sell more cars. The protagonist, however, is trying to understand why his friendship with this girl keeps rising. She really was strange. And in that, he takes the opportunity to poke her, saying that only Zhou Ying would look good in that car. Then the girl comments that she heard the protagonist broke up with Xiao Jia. Apparently, it was Zhou Ying who stole him. Her plan now is to make sure they feel uncomfortable. Zhou Ying, however, seems interested in this information, right? She thought the protagonist was with that Xiaoa. And Jiang dodges it, saying that the breakup with Xiaojia has nothing to do with Dear Joy, even though he admits any guy would go crazy for her. Then the friend notices his watch, right? And says something is wrong. Was he just pretending at school? The protagonist says he was living a quiet life. But now that he finished school, his parents decided to reward him, and he couldn't resist. Then Zudong is telling the group that it's better for them to leave, right? There's nothing more to see there. However, the naughty girl insists, right? At the 95, inviting him to dinner later. The protagonist declines and says they can talk later when he's in Hongchang. She gets all excited, saying he has her number and just needs to call. Apparently, it's the city he used to live in, right? Which he probably shouldn't return to ever. Whoa! The protagonist, however, tells Joy Ying to get back to work, that he'll take a look around. She thanks him while he asks her not to be so polite because they're still classmates. Suddenly, he's passing by a red car, and the other girl comes all interested, wanting to sell, too. How so? The boy already imagines himself inside with Xia Xiao. He really is strange. This guy, too. I'm saying he has a peculiar soul. The woman explains that the price there was 5 million, but she starts trying to use some sales tactics, saying he'll get who knows how many years of maintenance, whatever, but he just tells her to charge it to the card. Besides that, he wants a delivery ceremony, right? Probably going to send it to Xia Xia in some incredible way. The woman says that's the least of it. Of course, he can choose everything he wants, and the delivery will be exactly as he plans. While the two are talking, suddenly, there's a girl doing a little stream in the car. She says something shiny and that red really exudes feminine charm, and asks if any of the bros in the live are interested in buying this. The guys in the live are saying the car isn't that pretty, but she insists that any girl who gets this would fall in love. Out of nowhere, she puts our boy in her stream, saying they can trust him. This guy bought it, and will definitely do well. If they give 3,000 likes, she'll do an interview with him, and he'll share what he thinks of the car. Whoa! However, the seller then comes to ask right if she's there to buy, or just to be a nuisance. Poor thing got scolded and is all confused, right? But I just came to take a look. What's up? The seller then asks her not to get so close, or prove that she has enough funds to buy the car. The girl is a bit confused, saying she saw this kid get into the car and everything. And the girl explains, right, that he bought it. That's why. In the live, the poor guys are all feeling sorry for the clown makeup, while Joe Ying is there thinking she can't believe the protagonist really spent 20 million like that out of nowhere. 2 hours later, our protagonist stretches. Finally, all the papers were signed and the guy is handing over the keys. The system, however, had even chosen his plate. Right away, the guy arrives there delivering the plate. It's installed and even the seller is a bit confused. In shock that the plate still had the initials JC, right? Zhang Cheng, the bastard had money and influence. The protagonist says it was nothing special. He had reserved that plate a long time in advance, and that's it. However, the seller didn't like that. He knows this kid is trying to hide his influences and thinks he's an idiot, but he responds that it's really amazing that he planned ahead. Then the kid, in a twisted position, calls for the protagonist and says, everything is ready. While the boss is still trying to understand who this kid is, which family he belongs to, a few minutes later, Joe arrives there, right? Thanking our boy for today. Since they met by chance, she's getting off work. How about dinner? He was about to accept when suddenly he gets a call. It's the green-haired friend saying he got dumped. And if he doesn't come talk to him now and take care of him, he's going to jump in the river right now and die. The protagonist is a bit confused. Out of nowhere, this crazy guy is calling. Damn, he was humble with the friend too. He said they'll have that meeting to drink and eat something later. He'll have to help a friend out. She, a bit embarrassed, said it's okay. She always thought the green-haired guy liked someone named Shuya. Sometime later, the protagonist is arriving at the bar and asks if the bastard still wants to jump in the river. Dude, tell him to shut up and sit down so they can talk. Then he says, I found out that I'm a S, man. Can you believe it? I'm feeling really bad. She always bossed me around, but I thought she liked me. However, as soon as Liuong gave her some attention, she dropped me. The protagonist tells him to explain what happened, and he says he followed those two, then saw them making out and doing a lot of things that broke his heart. My God, nothing is left for Beta. The protagonist says they didn't even start anything properly, right? Why did his heart break so much? The guy keeps crying, but the protagonist says it's better if he doesn't get close. I think it's that girl who was already around in 95. That's because poor Zhuang is going to catch a disease. Wow, the protagonist went far with that. The friend tells him to explain, and our boy reveals that it seems her life was a mess. All he's going to tell his friend is that he got rid of a bomb. The friend says he understands, thanks him for the comfort, and they toast. Sometime later, he's taking a taxi. The protagonist sits there to send a message in a car when suddenly a certain Chen Li appears. 65 partners, right? The artist is already wanting to launch the record of 1,000 in a day. And the girl is saying that this is her boyfriend's car, so it's best he take his hand off and step away, or he'll have to pay for the damages. However, suddenly, when she looks at him closely, out of nowhere, she's a bit confused, says she's drunk, and he looks a lot like her boyfriend. I think that's a seduction technique, right? The protagonist, however, gives her a hard time, saying that she, on the other hand, doesn't look anything like his girlfriend. Wow. But this girl is in such despair that I think she wants to steal his kidney. That's for sure. Out of nowhere, she says she plays PUBG and knows 10 different ways to win the game. By any chance, does he want to play a match with her? The protagonist doesn't seem too interested, just says he prefers Honor of Kings, right? Must be some other game. With that, the streamer arrives asking if he's the one who requested someone to drive. He says yes. How come that one there? Capitalism didn't work out, huh? She says she works as a streamer, but in her spare time, she does Uber, right? To earn a little extra cash. And it's not even Uber. It's like designated driver. She just drives your car for you. And right then, she's there, right? Telling the live that she's impressed. Never imagined she'd find a Ferrari SF90 there already stretching out, throwing herself on the hood. While the weird PUBG girl is saying she also knows how to drive very well, the protagonist, however, says he doesn't like anything free in this life. Usually leads to complications. However, what he wants to know is if the capitalism streamer works hard. I felt sorry for her. If she really knows how to drive a supercar, and she tells him not to worry, that she once had an automotive review blog and has driven several sports cars. Dude, this girl is giving her all to survive. Someone help this poor thing. And that's it. 0 partners in the past for sure. The protagonist is going to go crazy. Name, Qiao Ying Yin. Already in the car, she asks if she can stream, and the protagonist says, it's fine, right? But does she really work like this every day? She explains that she doesn't always do lives, but normally she's driving back and forth anyway. In that she already sets the car to record her start speeding up. The protagonist then sees that her name in the live is Chia, and he thinks it's impressive that she has 0 partners in the past. Anyone looking would think she was the easier type. And in that he sees that in her live the biggest donor only donated 300 and that it was pathetic. He then asks, right, you're there with over 10,000 views and no one donates. Now it's explained why you have to work and drive, right? It would be easier for you to just focus on driving since these lives aren't yielding anything. Wow. But then he wanted to roast the poor girl. Said, you're broke, not making any money at all. Wow, you're a failure as a woman, not even using your body. Do you make cash? What can the poor girl do, right? She says she's not good at getting donations. I'd say that you're exposing everything you have at stake there, but okay. Right. Apparently attracted a weak audience in cash. We speed up. We're getting home. She hands back the keys, and our boy says she really is skilled at driving. Everything was very comfortable and calm, and she just thanks him asking for a good review. Besides that, she wanted to know what kind of live stream he likes to watch. He says he only watches the wonderful ones, and she asks, right, if she counts as a wonderful one. If so, maybe he could show a little support for this poor thing. Give her a little boost in her ranking. He replies that he doesn't know if he has that much money in his account. She, however, says that if he wants, he can invite her for a drink. Whoa, but wasn't she at 0 and is offering herself like that? What's going on here? The protagonist seems to understand that she's creating like a drama in her life. Probably wanted him to pay the bills and make some donations and would leave, right, without doing anything. But for him, she was walking like a sheep to the tiger's cage. And in that, he already asks what kind of water she's interested in. She remembers that this sounds like a normal conversation from a certain type of story and is imagining weird things there, right? Clearly, he would be the type to like this video. Kids, we're done. Another money spender? Like on this video that helps Mamoru